Setting goals is nothing new. You probably do it every year, but then why are you so damn bad at it? First of all, changing your life is hard. Sticking to your habits and your goals is hard. We don't want to believe that it's hard because that makes us want to do it less. But the sooner you accept that it's going to be a hard journey, the sooner you can try to make it easier, instead of just setting yourself up for failure every time. Second, we usually don't really know what we want. We set our goals based on shoulds instead of the things that will actually upgrade your life. Third, we set our expectations too high. When we are setting goals, we often believe that we will become superwoman and that all our issues will all of a sudden be fixed. We believe that we will never get tired, that we will never run out of energy or motivation. And lastly, we fail to set ourselves up for action. So when it actually comes to doing the thing, we have no idea what to do. But we're going to fix that. Welcome to Goals Week. This week we'll go through all the aspects of life and learn how to set goals in each and every area. But I wanted to kick off this week by teaching you how to actually set effective goals. Step 1. Figuring out what you want. For change to stick, it needs to answer to a desire. Something that resonates with you, something that really comes from your deepest core desires. You have to start from your values. Values are those things in life that are of the uttermost importance to you, that make you who you are. And your goals have to align with that. Because if they don't, and this often happens if you put goals based on societal expectations, it will cause friction and you won't succeed nor be happy. So step 1 in the goal setting process should always be figuring out what your values are. And I actually have a free download for this. You can find it in the description box, but I'll also quickly explain it in this video. You're going to start thinking about the best moments of your life and the moments where you truly felt like yourself. What were you doing in those moments? Maybe you were traveling the world or giving a very important presentation, reading really interesting books. And then add to that the activities that you could not live without in your life. Is it cooking, cleaning, exercise? And then look into the worst moments of your life and the situations where you felt trapped and you couldn't wait to get out of them. This might be a busy party, or a presentation on stage, or when you fall out of routine. And if then lastly, you look at those activities that you absolutely hate doing and you can't help but always put off, if you put all of those things together, you will start to see patterns. And those patterns will then lead you to your values. In the download, you can find a list of the most common values. But do remember that your values are highly personal and that it's not about fitting into a box. Second to that, values are fluid. They evolve with you as you evolve through life. So what worked for you last year might not necessarily work for you again this time. Then we're going to focus on your real life. So instead of starting with those things that you absolutely want to achieve this year, let's start with looking at your dream life. What does an ideal day look like? An ideal weekend, month, year? If money were no object, if you couldn't fail and nobody would judge you, what would you want to be doing right now? And don't only focus on actions. Also try to imagine what that life feels like what is the overall vibe of it, because that is what we're going to be working with. That is the absolute end goal. And yes, money is still an object. You probably will fail, and I'm certain that people will still judge you, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try, and it certainly doesn't mean that you will fail. So let's define an action plan. If you have that end goal in mind, you can start something called reverse engineering, where you take the end product and you're going to define all the different ways to reach that result. There is seldom only one path to reach a certain destination. So I want you to write down all of the ways that you can think of to achieve those goals. These are your trial runs. You're going to pick the one that resonates most with you right now. But if that one doesn't work out, you have a plan B, a plan C, and many, many more to fall back on. Because that's what it takes. Developing something new takes trial and error. And maybe the first method doesn't stick. If it works like that in business land, it should work the same in your personal life. And once we have developed your first trial run, then you can start breaking it down. So let's say for me that I want my life to feel more peaceful. Then I will define what it takes for me for that life to feel peaceful. For me, that would be an organized house. It would be never running out of groceries, always staying on top of things. And once you've defined the stakes, you then will define how you can make those things happen. So that would be, in this case, weekly and monthly resets to make sure that I stay on top of things, recurring grocery orders so I never run out, and daily cleaning sessions so my house stays nice and organized. And then you will break down those things into the smallest possible actions that you can take and create a little to-do list or checklist out of them so you don't actually forget to do them every time. And then step 3 is to prepare for failure. You can't expect for your energy levels and your motivation to stay the same throughout the whole entire year. That's just not realistic. But yet, when we set goals, we all of a sudden expect ourselves to become the best version of ourselves. And then when the inevitable happens and we do fall off track, we blame ourselves as worthless creatures that should just have done better. If you not only accept that you will fail, but you expect it, you can create a strategy for how to correct yourself when it does happen. But how exactly do you do this? First of all, make sure that you create a smooth system. Because basically every single habit is a system. If you want to eat more healthy, it's not just about eating. It's about knowing what recipes to make. It is about having the groceries to make those recipes, the kitchen supplies, the time to cook. Every single habit can create this little spider web of all these little actions that need to be completed. So if you are struggling with a habit, make sure that every single piece of your puzzle fits. Sometimes you might need to adapt a little, and that can be enough to get yourself back on track. Secondly, prepare for your weaknesses. You have things that you struggle with in everyday life, and that's normal. But when we set goals, we often all of a sudden expect for those things to go away. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So we have to, instead of ignoring our problems, learn how to work with them and manage them. If you struggle with low motivation, or you always forget things, or you're generally quite a messy person, there are strategies that you can put in place to make sure that those things don't get in the way of you reaching your goals. If you often forget things, put reminders in your phone. If you lose things, make sure that everything, like until the smallest little detail, has a spot to be put somewhere in your house. Make sure you have habits for low energy days or shorter habits for when you run out of time. Plan for your flaws. Consistency is key to create change in your life. However, consistency doesn't mean that you have to show up in the same way every single day. If you can consistently come back to the things that you want to be doing, you will see change in your life. And then lastly, figure out a strategy to get yourself back on track once you fall off. Because it will happen. You are only human. But I do like to prepare for moments when that happens, because that shame spiral tends to take over and rational thinking gets quite hard. So what I like to do in those situations is to fall back on a list. Something that I know that works to get me back into my motivation zone. And that list for you can be highly personal, but on my list, I have things like going on a long walk and listening to a motivational podcast, journaling on my goals, cleaning my house which feels nice and refreshed, and taking a really nice, really hot shower. And then I start again the next day and I ease myself back into it. For example, I'm not just gonna go ahead and run a 10K.
I will start with 2 or 3 and then slowly build back up to where I want to be. And then I want to end this video with one last advice. Know that life will fluctuate and that in certain seasons you will have to give more attention to something than to something else. And that is totally okay. In the end, it will probably balance each other out. You can't give 100% attention to all of your goals the whole year round. And as long as you remember that, you are ready for Goals Week. So I hope you stick around for it. Subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Toodaloo!